All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with another live edition of the Patriots Daily podcast, powered by Prize Picks, powered by Game Time, powered by Omaha Steaks, and powered by a Sunday Night Football matchup against the Buffalo Bills coming up this weekend. As you all know, Patriots 2-2, heading to the Bills 4-0. For some primetime football, something Drake May talked about today, said that it adds a little bit more to the whole dynamic of the game, to the dynamic of the week. Mike Vrabel was asked about it this morning and said that it's you want to play in primetime football, but also that this Buffalo team has won, I think, 17 games in a row at home now. So or 14, whatever 14, whatever the number is, they dominate at Hard Rock Stadium. So with that, as we do on Wednesdays, we're getting into a mailbag edition of the podcast. Taylor asked for your questions on Twitter earlier. We loaded those in. If you have any more, any of you guys who are live viewers have questions, throw them in the chat. We'll get to as many as possible over the next half hour or so. But before we get into the questions, Patriots got back on the practice field today, and we do have an injury report. K'Lavon Chaisson did not practice with a knee. Neither did Jalen Hawkins. Christian Barmore limited again as he continues to come back. Mike Vrabel was asked about that this week. We don't even have to get into that. I think they're just continuing to keep him healthy and safe and ramp him up. Milton Williams is listed with an ankle. Jared Wilson, again, limited with an ankle and a knee. And then
this is the first time you practiced since last week, though, so that is good. Yeah.
Good stuff there from Jared Wilson. And then 4 full participants: Will Campbell, Marte Mapu, Mike Onwenu, and Jelani Tavai returns with the calf injury. So his practice window has opened. He's obviously on IR right now. So good stuff from Tavai getting onto the practice field. Any extra thoughts on here? I know you mentioned Jared Wilson, so that's a good boost for the offensive line. Milton Williams there as well. And then obviously the 2 defenders that we talked about. Hawkins' hamstring feels like that could be long-term, but we'll see what happens. But what do you make of who was listed today?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the safety depth for sure. I like Del Pettis. I don't mind Del Pettis having a role in some of the 3 safety packages, but at the same time, now you're asking Kyle Duggar to take on more of a role. And we've seen him fill in at safety because Craig Woodson got hurt. I believe that was in Miami. Was that week? I think that was against Miami. But we've seen at one point, I think at one point Craig Woodson got hurt. Obviously last week Jalen Hawkins gets hurt. So we've seen Kyle Duggar in those roles. But still, if anything happens to those guys, you're kind of screwed. There was even a point in the game plan where I don't think they actually put Del Pettis in as their third safety type in those nickel packages until like the 4th quarter. A lot of it, once Hawkins went down, was them just playing nickel because they knew they probably couldn't go base against that team. And what we ended up seeing was Marcus Jones having to be in the box and getting bullied a little bit, the way you'd expect a guy who's 5'8" when he's having to deal with linebackers. And the Panthers did a really good job using their 2 tight end sets and spreading them out. So I understand the consideration there, but again, they're kind of one guy away from not even being able to use one of their defensive packages. Mike Vrabel was asked today how he feels about the safety depth and whether they move a cornerback there, which I feel like it's talked about every single year. I don't think people realize how hard it is for somebody to just play a completely different position. Right. Like sometimes veterans where, you have to because you just don't have the range. Sure. Marcus Jones is used at safety sometimes, but like you're not trying to make Marcus Jones a safety. And Mike Vrabel didn't really entertain the question. He didn't even really acknowledge the safety depth part of it, which you could also read as him thinking they may have some issues there, but not wanting to, exactly state that.
Don't make it a topic of discussion, right?
Exactly. But he said that no corners are going to be moved to safety anytime soon. So the cornerback depth is pretty spotty. That's definitely alarming. And before people say it, Jabril Peppers, he probably would not have been on the team. You were not going to have 2 guys who can, play for other teams as backups. So I just want to squash the Jabril Peppers conversation right now in case it comes up. K'Lavon Chaisson's been banged up all season, it feels like. Gardner Johnson, no.
CJ, even with another safety down. I know we talked about it last week.
Who has an issue playing within the defense and doing what he's supposed to do on a team like the Patriots. So
I agree. I throw it in there for shits because it's a mailbag and it was in the chat, but also because this culture that they're trying to build, bet last week 42-13 blowout. It's a big stepping stone in something like that. You don't want to bring in a guy who just left another team because of his fit with the actual defense, but also seemingly kind of drove his way out of there. Can be some sort of a chippy. I don't want to call him a cancer. That's way too far, but someone who might not vibe in the locker room. So I'm good on CJ.
Yeah, so no CJ Gardner-Johnson. K'Lavon Chaisson, it feels like he's been banged up pretty much all season.
Yeah.
He's been very tough and battled through it. So we'll see what happens with him. Milton Williams, a little bit concerning. It is an ankle, but that's another one where I guess we'll just have to see what exactly his status is throughout the week. Will Campbell making, I believe this is his injury report debut. If not, it's for the first time. At least last week he wasn't on there. Now he's on there with shoulder injuries, so we'll monitor that. Marte Mapu's been on here with the neck, and when he's been on here with the shoulder, I believe Mike Vrabel really kind of downplayed it last week. So maybe just stuff that comes with football. And Jelani Tavai begins his 21-day activation window to potentially play. He's been around. We've seen him in the locker room. We've seen him around the facility. So he's been around doing what he's got to do. No idea if he's going to be able to play, but if he can, that's a huge boost because I didn't love what I saw from Christian Ellis's film last week. I thought that he made some plays, but I thought he was slow to fill at times. I thought his recognition was poor where he was involved in like 2 or 3 picks that just showed really poor spatial awareness. Mike Vrabel didn't seem too happy with the Patriots getting picked. Again, I'm still not exactly sure who he was talking about, but after seeing it on tape, like Ellis getting rubbed a couple of times, it did not sit very well. And I know there was technically a rotation. Like he didn't get benched the way he did the week before, but it was also very clear that, he was not one of the best linebackers out there, and it felt like Gibbons against the run was better, and we know Marte Mapu is probably better as a coverage linebacker. Might see more Marte Mapu this week. That's just my guess because I feel like he's going to be a big part of the game plan, considering James Cook is not he can catch as well as run. So you don't want him against like a Jack Gibbons or a Christian Ellis necessarily. So, just in terms of Jelani Tavai, if he's able to go, that's huge because is he an every down player? No, but we know when he has a guy like Spillane who can really hold down that middle linebacker position, he can be a player that does well, especially in a scheme where the defensive line really features, and he's going to be more on cleanup duty. So I think that should be pretty good for him.
100%. I'm with you on Mapu too, kind of having potentially an advanced role, and also because of the fact that he is that kind of tweener player. I know we haven't seen him much at safety, and I know we don't really want him at safety necessarily, but with those guys being knocked down in that room, somebody who you can kind of bring in as a lighter linebacker coverage guy, like you mentioned, especially with a fast scat back like James Cook. Another thing here, one quick piece of Patriots news is that Marcus Jones won the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week this week. That is the second Patriot to win AFC Special Teams Player of the Week this season across 4 weeks. It was Antonio Gibson in week 2 did it against Miami, and now Marcus does it with the career high return yards. So I know that some stuff on special teams kind of has been spotty for the Patriots this year, but it's definitely on the upward trajectory. I think Jeremy Spring has done a great job, and those guys get rewarded of it 2 of these last 4 weeks.
Definitely.
Yep.
It was really cool, man. It's been a cool year for Marcus Jones anyway, getting voted the captain, getting AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. I feel like we've been in his locker quite a bit already this season, just being like, hey, congrats, man. So yeah, that was another cool one for a guy that we know works very hard and as far as we know, does all the right things.
100%. And Will Campbell was on the injury report week 1, ended up with an ankle injury at one point. I thought there was a concern there. I remember I went on radio with Joe Murray week 1. He was like, is Will Campbell going to play? I was like, yeah, he's going to be fine. Christian Gonzalez might not, but that was a whole thing. But no, he ended up okay. And now he's up there with, is it a knee this time? I already X'd out of it. It was shoulder. So again, that's another one limited. I think he'll be, or even a full participant. So should be fine. But that is our injury report. So we will get to some questions here. And I will actually start with the live chat from Serial Stroke. Hope we get Kyle Williams more involved or even Chisholm for one. So there's a couple wide receiver questions in the mailbag here. So I figured we'd start with this and kind of piggyback onto this question that we got on Twitter from Nick Wilson, which was, will we get to see more Kyle Williams on the outside as the year progresses, or is he not going to be unleashed? Where are you at the wide receiver position? And I guess we can loop in Efton Chisholm there as well. Do you think this is finally the week we see Chiz?
I just think that Kyle Williams has averaged around a dozen snaps a game, and he's been fine. The ball hasn't found his way a ton. Usually he gets like a target a game. He didn't get one last week. But again, man, there's plenty of wide receivers open. You've got a lot of veterans mostly surrounding Drake May who know what's expected of them. Demario Douglas is plenty of explosive in his own right, obviously not the same kind of player. If Kyle Williams is comfortable and is making progress, sure. But you have to understand, Kyle Williams spends a lot of time on the scout team.
Yeah.
So there's just not a ton of opportunities for him to work with Drake May, and that's significant. When we go back to the summer, that's where you build a lot of this rapport, and I always mention that Kyle Williams was mixing into that rotation, but even still, like, it does take time to develop that kind of chemistry, and it's going to be tough for Kyle to get that when there's so many veterans. I forget who it was. Somebody was upset with his answer of basically saying like, hey, I'm behind a lot of older guys. I got to wait for my time. Obviously, maybe you want to be more proactive or whatever, but it's the truth. Mac Hollins has been in this offense. Stephon Diggs is getting paid a ton of money. Kayshon Boutte might be the best receiver that they have, if we're being honest, even though he doesn't get a lot of the coverage or target share. And also, we know Demario Douglas is a good receiver, even if he and Drake haven't consistently been on the same page. So that's 4 veterans right there, and Kyle Williams, who they still are working into the rotation. They've got some packages they've been giving him. So it's not like he's not invisible or anything. It's just sometimes the ball doesn't go his way when he's on the field. So I'm fine with the way he's been used. If something clicks for him, then he and Drake are great in practice and you're really seeing some sparks start to fly, then okay, sure. But guys are open. Drake May looked good last week, albeit, in less than 20 dropbacks. So I'm fine with that. And when it comes to Efton Chisholm, I've said it before, I think that it's probably going to take maybe Demario Douglas like really not maybe meeting their standards, which I'm not saying he hasn't. Last week doesn't really catch a pass, but he's still significant as a blocker and helps Hunter Henry, which is also cool, singing the mic'd up that Mike Vrabel.
That was awesome.
Old Henry, and then Hunter Henry went over to Pop. It was like, I wouldn't have done it without you. Love those vibes there. But yeah, these young guys, you don't want rookies to have to play. You'd like for yourself to be able to win games and be in good positions with your veterans, and then let those young guys be able to catch on as they do. Now, obviously, the Patriots have a ton of young guys playing. A lot of that's out of necessity. Kyle Williams and Efton Chisholm don't have to play, so I'm fine with just going at their pace and just doing what's best for the offense, because Kyle Williams is still a third-round pick. If he contributes, awesome, but that is not a priority to get him on the field. And Efton Chisholm, as much as we're all excited about him, was undrafted. So these aren't guys where you have to put them out there. You have pretty good depth at wide receiver. Right. Just keep working with what you got. And if those young guys start to show some flashes in practice and earn more looks, then that's fantastic.
I'm totally with you on the Chisholm Pop thing. I know Pop wasn't great the first couple weeks, but I did. You mentioned the mic'd up thing. That's just like that. Embodies Vrabel to me. That quick clip where it's like, one guy's down, he's not playing great, but Vrabel wants to bring him up almost immediately. And instead of going up to Hunter Henry and being like, hey, good job, he's like, no, Pop helped you there. We need to pick him up because he hasn't caught a catch, because he messed up last week. Like, let's go pick up that guy. Goes to his captain, Hunter Henry, to do so, and he makes it happen. So I'm with you. I thought that was really cool. We do have a bunch of other wide receiver questions here that I want to get to. But I got to tell you guys about our friends at Prize Picks first. So we'll get to a bunch of the wide receiver stuff in a second. But first, as you know, this episode, along with every episode of Patriots Daily, is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss out on the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. As you know, the Patriots are headed to Buffalo this weekend. We will have a Prize Picks lineup for you, courtesy of Patriots Daily. So follow along and hopefully win some cash with us on the Prize Picks app. It's super easy to use. You just got to pick more or less on at least 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account and withdrawals as well this football season. So download the app today, create an account, and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is code CLNS. You will get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Alrighty, back to the wide receivers. I do want to go down the Pop rabbit hole a little bit again here, and because last week we had this question, we didn't get to it. Pop looked uncomfortable. Oh, excuse me. Pop looked uncoverable and dominant during training camp and joint practices. What happened? Because we keep saying, and I've said it, you've said it, the connection with him wasn't there. He's a shorter receiver. It doesn't seem like Drake can hit him. They haven't had much chemistry, but they did seemingly start to be building some chemistry off of last year into training camp. So what do you think happened? Why hasn't he sort of hit his, again, we know he was good last week. He had the block. He helped out outside of that, but why do you think he hasn't hit his stride as a receiver?
I mean, he's still uncoverable. He's still wide open a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's fair.
Wow, why is Pop wearing coverage all of a sudden? Like, that's not even it. And there haven't even been enough glaring issues against zone where I'm like, yes, this is a problem for him. I haven't really even seen that. I think that part of it is just Drake going to guys who are open, first of all. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's necessarily that he doesn't like throwing to Pop or anything like that. And it is odd. Like, I don't even understand it. And it's also tough when, like, we don't have tape. In the summer, we just have the results. Like, I can't really tell you what his coverages were looking like, yada, yada, yada. Could also honestly be the fact that he was still getting comfortable in the offense, and Pop was usually underneath. Like, there were obviously times where he's running crossing routes, and that was a lot of it. But a ton of Pop's targets were short. And maybe that was the defense taking all the downfield stuff away and forcing him down. I really don't know. It's tough for me to say. But from what we do know, based on the past, year and a half, it does feel like Drake downfield has some hesitation going to Pop consistently, unless it is specifically on those crossing routes. And if we do go back to the summer, that's where almost all of his hay was made. It wasn't a ton of the sail routes or stuff outside. That was mostly Hunter Henry, sometimes Stephon Diggs.
Right.
It was really just the same kind of stuff over the middle. So again, it's really hard to say. There's also the fact that teams aren't playing them in man nearly as much as I think some people anticipated. Like, I remember I was on NBC and somebody mentioned, like, the Patriots play all this man coverage. And I was like, I didn't get to say it because timing and all that on TV. But I was thinking, like, I don't think they're going to see a lot of man because you have Pop, who was playing well at that point and was looking uncoverable. We would see Stephon Diggs against man and one-on-ones, just torch guys, like looked fantastic against the Vikings. And you had Mac Collins where you started to see some rapport there and Drake just being willing to throw it up and letting Mac make some plays. So I think that part of it is also that there's just been a lot of zone coverage, and Pop doesn't really thrive against zone. That's more Hunter Henry, Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte in some third down situations. So I'd say, if anything, I think that's really the biggest answer, is they haven't played a ton of teams that play them in man very much, except for really the Steelers. Everybody else has been more of a zone team. And by the way, that's going to continue this week against the Bills. They play some third down man, but they play a ton of different types of zone. So this is another week where I don't think we're going to see a ton of Pop Douglas necessarily in terms of the target share.
On receivers, how has Mac Hollins fared so far this year? 2 touchdowns, had the one against Miami, and then scored last weekend against the Carolina Panthers as well. What have you seen from number 13?
So the ball obviously hasn't gone his way very much. He caught a touchdown last week, but you just don't see it. He hasn't been targeted very often. And to be fair, a lot of his success late in the summer came on like scramble drills. Drake definitely taking some chances. Again, those are more man situations. There were some hole shots against cover 2. I'm hoping we see some more of those. I will say I thought he'd be more consistent as a blocker. When he's on, he's very good. But there's also plays like the Antonio Gibson fumble last week or the Kyle Williams end around where, he doesn't block well enough and it leads to negative plays. So there hasn't been a ton for Mac Hollins because there's been so much rotation again, and he hasn't been targeted. I could, say, he's been open, but what happens when the ball actually gets to you? So still TBD at this stage for Mac Hollins as a receiver specifically. But yeah, as a blocker, he's good when he's good, but he has not been as consistently dominant as I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would have liked to seen a little bit more from him, even through the passing game as well. Like, I know he's caught a handful of balls, but it's someone where, I keep going back to, and it's hindsight, but that 4th and 3 play where Pop didn't get it. And I know that we talked about it after, I think we did it in either the film review or our sort of recap show afterwards. Like, why were they going to Pop in the first place when you could be going to Hunter Henry or Stephon Diggs or someone more reliable? And we mentioned that it was some sort of adjustment where they had a blitz coming and Drake just chucked it out. But on some of these gotta-have-it plays, Hollins' big body is something that I could see them utilizing in a jump ball situation, on a quick slant situation. There hasn't been a ton of it, but it's hard to complain about not using him in gotta-have-it situations when they've been so successful on 3rd down and 4th down, etc. So, again, we'll see what happens with Hollins. It's certainly early, not only in the season, but in his tenure with the Patriots. So I'll be curious to see how they continue utilizing him. But the last one here on wide receiver is from the live chat, and it's about Stephon Diggs. What do you think Diggs' ceiling will be? He had his first 100-yard game last weekend, and apparently said he's only 5 out of 10 in his familiarity and comfortability in the offense. Now, he said that was sort of tongue-in-cheek and facetious today, and everyone read into that, as everybody does. Obviously, I don't think he's only half up to speed with this offense. If he's getting on the field, that's something that
disingenuous way to take that quote, by the way. Like, really,
I know
you really think he only knows half the playbook? Like, come on.
Especially because we've seen, for example, and it's not the same situation, but a high-profile wide receiver in Chad Ochocinco come in here, not understand the playbook, and have his playing time cut because of it. And Stephon Diggs' playing time hasn't been cut. He knows what they're doing on offense. He was just saying he wants to continue to get more familiar, yada, yada, yada. But long story short, that's where we're at. Stephon Diggs was great last week. Do you think there's more to this? Is that his ceiling? Can he keep growing? Can he get back to dominant Stephon Diggs?
Well, he's not going to be Bill Stephon Diggs. I don't want to create any illusions of what he is, and I think he knows that as well. I will say one thing, and this isn't the most important thing. I think he's gotten better as a blocker since like that mesh play where he didn't get against Miami. He got it the next week against Pittsburgh. I feel like I like what I see from him as a blocker more. And as a receiver, like he's looked comfortable. We mentioned he's been open. Sometimes the ball just doesn't find him. Ceiling, I mean, right now he's at over 200 yards. I feel like 800 isn't unreasonable, to be honest. I think he and Hunter Henry, especially with Pop Douglas's role being much smaller than we thought, I don't think it's great. And Travion Henderson not being as much of a factor. Those were the reasons that I was like, Diggs, I don't really see him getting the 800-yard season. Now, I mean, if it's him and Hunter Henry as the main guys and everybody else is more auxiliary, then yeah, I could absolutely see him getting 800. And I think that he's still going to be an inside-out target. There's been some narratives about his alignment, and like he's a Z. It's the same conversation that people used to have with Edelman, calling him a slot receiver when he spends like 55 or 45% of the time outside. Is that the majority? No, but you're not. A slot receiver is usually somebody who spends about like 75% of their time in the slot. You see Stephon Diggs all over the place. Now, albeit a lot of this production was over the middle, of course, that's also just the Patriots offense. And even I think he or Drake acknowledged it was nice for them to be able to kind of have some production outside the numbers. So I think that an 800-yard season is reasonable. I could see him scoring a few touchdowns as well. Kind of odd he hasn't gotten in the end zone yet, but one of them mentioned that that's kind of next on the agenda. So, ceiling, I think 800 yards and just one of their more consistent guys. I could see a point in this season where you really don't want to take him off the field very often. If he continues to stay healthy, starts feeling even better, develops more of a rapport with Drake, because at that point, like they're rotating through receivers because they have different skill sets, and no one had really asserted themselves as the alpha, even though Stephon was leading in target share. But now he's producing in a way that we haven't really seen from anybody. Obviously, Kayshon Boutte as an X is doing his thing, but that's just not really where this offense has been going. They haven't exploited those one-on-ones very often. I hope they do more because Keyshawn really has been playing well. But yeah, I think that it's fair to expect more than I think we were earlier towards the end of the summer, just because it seemed like other guys were going to contribute. And now it feels like it's mostly been the tight end Stephon Diggs show.
You mentioned the fact that he hasn't gotten the end zone yet. I'm calling it, bold prediction right now. Write it down. Diggs scores against his old team of Buffalo this weekend in prime time.
He's got to.
Right? Yep, I'm with you. And if you want to see it.
He's going to be a captain this week too?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's got to. That's a good call too. So if you want to see Captain Stephon Diggs score live and at Highmark Stadium, download the Game Time app, because Game Time is the best place to get last-minute tickets to all of your favorite events, from NFL, MLB playoffs going on right now as well. So it's one of the most exciting times in the sports calendar, and you can get in on the action, get into the building for the action with the Game Time app. You can customize your spot. You can get sweet deals on NFL tickets right now. Fees are included, which is my favorite part about the Game Time app. There's no surprise fees at checkout when you toggle on that setting, so you don't get screwed on the back end with any sort of fees or taxes or anything of that nature. The get-in price, that one price is right in front of you. There's also zone deals, seat views that give you a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, and they also have their lowest price guarantee. If you don't get it, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. And what are you drinking?
I did something stupid.
Oh, okay. Well, what I was going to do before I saw you almost throw up live on camera.
Okay, so I tried to. Okay, my retainer got caught in the washing machine, and I was like, "Do retainers shrink?" I don't know. It was on my desk, so I was like, "Oh, commercial break's a great time to check," and I did, and it split a little bit.
Oh, there you go. Okay. At any rate, the low price right now for Highmark Stadium, Patriots at Bills, $247. So, like I said a little pricey, but prime time, Sunday Night Football at Bills. Nice rivalry jerseys for the Bills, the nice whiteout jerseys, and the Patriots are headed there. So the bad news is it's a little pricey. The good news is closer to game time, those tickets prices go way down. So go to Buffalo, go party in the parking lot, go tailgate, and keep checking, and maybe you can get in at the last minute. What do you got?
And I will say, I went when it was still Ralph Wilson. It is not Highmark to me. I don't care. It's just like how Heinz is still Heinz. It's not Aperture, whatever the hell.
Oh, yeah.
But that is the best experience I've ever had at a game. Bills fans are sick. Like, they're like if Raiders fans were actually chill, where they're intense and they bring the passion and all that. Like, I had a blistering headache at halftime. It was Brady's last game at Ralph Wilson, and they were going crazy, but fans were really – I was like, hey, I'm not rooting for y'all, but I'm with the Pats, but I respect what y'all got going on. And this was like when Josh started to get good, and everyone was so nice. They're really fun crowd to be around. It's a great atmosphere. And this is going to be the last year that the stadium is there.
Right.
So I understand it's pricey, but really, like, I don't usually really hammer home, like, go to these games. Seriously. No. It's a great matchup. You got Josh and Drake. The Patriots are doing well, so it's going to be a lot of hype. Go to that game if you can. Really,
go to this game. I'm totally with you. And you know what I'm going to do? Because we're talking about Buffalo and getting in the game with the Game Time app, the experience, the tailgate, etc. I'm going to double up on our ads right now and tell you about Omaha Steaks. Because if you're going to tailgate, grab yourself some Omaha Steaks, throw them on the grill, hang out in the parking lot, jump through a table, grab crush beers on your head, do the whole thing. But if you're going to go do that with the Game Time app and with Omaha Steaks, make sure you do it with our deal. Because I got to tell you look at that burger right on screen. Look at these Omaha Steaks that you could be eating the steak as well in the Highmark Stadium parking lot. Because, again, Omaha Steaks, as you know, has the best deals on USDA certified steaks, juicy burgers, and cozy and convenient comfort meals. They currently have an early Black Friday sale going right now. You get 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites on omahasteaks.com. Plus, if you use our new promo code Patriots at checkout, you'll get an additional $35 off. So super cheap steaks right now on Omaha Steaks. Again, there's an early Black Friday sale, so you can get a ton of money off. And, I have a lot of talking points that I can talk about, but if you're on YouTube, you can just look and see the premium quality meats you'll get with Omaha Steaks. So again, the video is going to end right now, so you're going to be back up on screen. Just wanted to let Taylor know that in case he was trying to mess with his retainer again. But Omaha Steaks right now, 50% off site-wide, 20% off favorites, and an additional $35 off with promo code Patriots at checkout. So terms apply, see site for details. But again, great experience with all three of our advertisers on this show. You go to the game with the Game Time app, you grill steaks with Omaha Steaks, and then you go in and you make a lineup with Prize Picks. So it's perfect. Do it all. Code CLNS on Game Time Prize Picks and code Patriots on Omaha Steaks. All right, let's finish it off with a couple final questions here on this mailbag edition of the show. And let's flip it to the defense here. Kay Roberts asks, how do you think the Patriots defense will attack the Joe Brady scheme? Will they play man too much, without playing so much man to man? Oh, two man. They spelled two wrong. Do you think they play man? Do you think they play zone? How do they attack Josh Allen, Joe Brady, and the Bills offense, rather?
So it's tough because you don't want to play a ton of man against Josh Allen. But I don't think that this Bills receiver core can do a whole lot against this Patriots cornerback group. So you're talking about Keon Coleman. I think it's going to be another week where the corners just play sides. They don't have a dominant number one. I asked Christian Gonzalez how Keon Coleman's grown. And he was respectful. He was saying how, he works on his releases. I'm not going to lie. The explanation sounded kind of like, oh, okay.
He's fine. Yeah.
So I think that's a good matchup for Carlton Davis or Christian Gonzalez. Khalil Shakir is a good player, a guy they need to get on the ground. But with Marcus Jones, I just don't feel as worried about those types of matchups. And even Dalton Kincaid, when I looked at some of his explosives this year, a lot of it's been zone, a lot of it's been busted coverages. I would like to at least see how Duggar hangs with him, how Woodson even. Again, I don't love either of those guys in man coverage, but, I wouldn't hate seeing if it works. And if Josh is going to say, I like the matchup, let me challenge them. Because if that happens, then you can make an adjustment. Marte Mapu, I was saying earlier, I would like to see him on Kincaid, but at the same time, I think I want Marte Mapu on James Cook because of the explosiveness and all that. I don't think you want like a Gibbons. I said it earlier. I don't think you want Gibbons or Ellis or anybody like that necessarily covering him. So I think there's going to be as much man as they can play. I also think they're going to switch it up in passing situations where they're going to show man, then end up playing cover 2 just to give Josh Allen some different looks. But on early downs, I think they spin the dial. I think that they, one, have to be respectful of the run game because of James Cook and an offensive line. Then Milton Williams compared to the Eagles, which is crazy. He's like, those are some big human beings. It's kind of like what we had in Philly. So very good offensive line. You don't want to just be man coverage, have your back to them, and then you turn around and James Cook just ran right past you for 70 yards. So you're going to want to be respectful of that, but also just to give Josh some different looks where, Dave Canales said the Patriots don't do a whole lot. I don't know where he got that because they really do spin.
They put up 35 on his app. Oh, no, the other way around. They only allowed you to score 13 points and one was in garbage time.
On your first drive and your last drive. So
right.
Weird thing to say, but they really do. They play a lot of the two high shells, but you don't know, are they going to drop somebody? Is it going to be a slot blitz? Are they going to play quarters? Are they playing 2? So I think they do mix it up a decent bit. So early downs, when you do need to respect the run, make sure you're giving Josh Allen some different looks. Although they don't push the ball downfield as much as you think for a Josh Allen team. Like Josh and Drake have very similar average depths of target. I think Josh is like 0.5 higher, which is significant, but it's like under 8 yards. So it's not like he's chucking it deep because of the personnel. It's kind of like Mahomes when he got towards, or in the more recent version of his career where they don't have a ton of, well, now they do because they have Taekwon, but they didn't have a ton of speed downfield. So it's just, all right, get the ball in our guys' hands. That's more of what this Bills offense is, even though obviously you always have to be respectful of Josh Allen. You're saying like, F it, I'm going to throw, 80 yards downfield. So switch it up with zone on early downs, then play as much man as you can. But if you do that, you have to be very sound in your rush lanes. Mike Vrabel mentioned, like, you can rush 4, you can rush 5. There's still going to be a lane for him to exploit. You just have to make sure that you are condensing the pocket as much as you can. And whoever ends up spying him, whether it's Spillane or whomever, you got to take good angles to at least slow him down so other guys can rally to the quarterback.
You mentioned the safeties there. Question from the chat is, how good has Craig Woodson been so far this year? What do you think of his usage? What do you think of how they're using him? And what have you seen from the rookie safety so far through 4 games?
It's been solid. There are times where he flashes with some playmaking, like the Tyreek Hill out where he made a play and probably did actually punch it out or knock it loose. Didn't count, of course, because they didn't overturn it. He almost intercepted a pass, which, Bryce Young was begging him to pick that one off, and there was a person that basically prevented it. But also, he's gotten picked on in the red zone at times. They'll send motion that kind of gets him in some of the wrong spots in run defense when they're at the goal line or in the low red zone. Gave up 2 touchdowns last week, got picked very badly on the second, where it's like, I don't really care. There's no excuse. Like, you can't just run right into your guy like that. So rookie struggles, but at the same time, you're not seeing guys thrown over his head unless it's in the red zone, which is not great. But, he's a rookie. He's going to make his mistakes. He's still getting used to the NFL. This is a big game for him because this is Josh freaking Allen. It ain't, Aaron Rodgers without a real, I guess, I don't want to say he doesn't have a deep threat, but Aaron Rodgers is not going to push the ball downfield much.
Right.
Not Bryce. This is, even Gino will sling it, but you get what I mean.
Totally. He's the best quarterback in football.
Right.
Josh Allen.
So he's been inconsistent. He's tried to make a couple plays. I'd like to see the tackling get better. I mentioned in our post-game show that he got stiff-armed at one point and missed a tackle. So plenty of room for him to grow, but also nothing so glaringly bad where I'm like, you've got to take this kid off the field, which is saying a decent amount for a rookie safety who was drafted in the 4th round.
Totally. All right, we have a couple more questions in here. 2 of them I actually want to save for Friday's Discord chat because it can give us a good sort of couple jumping off points. One about Drake May's development, another one about players to watch and how they've developed. So we'll use that on Friday. So want to actually use this opportunity to plug that. Fridays, Taylor and I do a Discord chat. Everybody's welcome. It's on the Patriots, or it's on the CLNS Media Discord channel. So download the Discord app and you can join that. That's all free, but members are allowed to come on stage and talk with us. So that is a fun little community we're trying to build over there. So if you haven't, download Discord. You can go to clnsmedia.com/Discord, and that'll bring you right to there. Sign up, join our Friday chats. They're at 3 p.m. They're a fun little thing we're starting there. So we'll use those for Friday, but I do want to close out with this question, Taylor. It's sort of an open-ended October schedule because it is October 1st. Patriots have 4 games coming up in October, obviously starting with this Sunday at Buffalo. The next 2, are on the road at the New Orleans Saints and at the Tennessee Titans. And then they come home and play the Cleveland Browns with Dylan Gabriel under center. So Mr. Ed315 asks, looking at these October games, will it be scary good or a nightmare for the Patriots? How do you see these next 4 games going against, again, Buffalo, who's the best team in football, one of, but then you got New Orleans, Tennessee, and Cleveland.
They beat Buffalo. They better go undefeated.
That's my thing.
This is like, it is actually crazy. So I was looking at this chart earlier from Computer Cowboy, Week 4 NFL objective power rankings, mostly bad. The Ravens and the Dolphins, Raiders also, but they've gotten, I think they look worse than they did in that first week, even though that was a winnable game. Completely bad. The Browns, the Jets, the Giants, and the Saints, all still on the Patriots schedule. And also unfathomably bad are the Bengals, Panthers, and the Titans.
Yeah.
That's basically most of the season.
Patriots have an easy schedule the rest of the
time. So it should be a very fun October. This should be 2021 vibes where they get going and they hit a winning streak. The end of the season, we'll see what happens. They got to maintain that momentum, and this is still a team that's in the first year being together. There's a lot of young players. It is still safe to say that, we need to still, I'm the one who was on here saying Drake might be MVP if he wins, but there's also the expectation of, hey, this is a young team, a new team. Maybe, they fall off later in the year, but when they play some better teams. But this month, boy, they better be padding that stat sheet, because there are some bad teams, at least right now, on their schedule. They don't have nearly enough, knock on wood, significant injuries for me to feel like there is any reason in any of these games they should not win by decent margins or by pretty comfortable victories by the fourth quarter. So I don't even want to sound cocky. I try to be as respectful to other teams as I can, but this is just not a good October outside of Buffalo. And unless obviously something happens, of course, you play it by ear and do business.
Right.
But it's a really easy schedule, man.
The reason we came on schedule night and did our win-loss exercise, and Taylor came out at 14-3 and everybody had an aneurysm, was because of how easy the middle of the schedule is. You look at these 4 games, or the 3, New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, and then November, you host the Atlanta Falcons, who have been up and down at best this season. Tampa's a struggle. Buffalo again. Now that's at home this time. That might be tough.
And they're coming off. Oh wait, no, they're coming off the Bengals, right? Which is going to be a lot easier.
Patriots come off a bye week before hosting the Bills again.
And the Bills were coming off.
Bills, yes, they were. Which it's different now.
Very different, yeah. But still, you get a bye week and you're playing. So,
but then the Patriots take on the Bengals 2 weeks prior. They take on the Giants with rookie Jackson Dart. They close out with the Jets and there's a lot of winnable games. There's a lot of meat on this bone that they can go attack.
And they could be 4-0 right now. We keep talking about it. I don't want to get into the what if too much because it gets annoying.
Because they can also be 1-3 with some of the back and forths. I get it. It's hard to do that exercise because if Achan's foot doesn't go out, shit like that, I get it. But the one I will say, and I said it a couple times, was the Pittsburgh game, the 5 turnovers. They could be 3-1, but they're 2-2. A lot of winnable games left on the schedule. It's going to be an exciting month, and it can get extra exciting this Sunday if they end up taking down the Bills, or even just play them competitively. If it's a 1-score game in Buffalo towards the end on prime time, and then you go in and play, like you said, you like to be respectful of other teams, so do I, but 3 cupcakes in New Orleans, Tennessee, and Cleveland. Come on now. Now we're talking. So exciting time, exciting stuff. That's going to do it here for our mailbag edition of the Patriots Daily podcast. We will have a Patriots versus Bills preview coming up tomorrow, I believe. Taylor, is that scheduled out yet? Do you have that going?
Yes, we got it. We're locked.
Awesome. Cool. So Taylor's going to preview that on Thursday with a guest. We'll be back Friday for our Discord chat as always. And we'll have additional coverage here on Patriots Press Pass every step of the way leading up until Sunday, where Taylor will be at Highmark Stadium, the final Patriots game there. So we'll have plenty of on-site coverage there, a post-game show, all that good stuff. So make sure you keep it here on Press Pass, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. We always appreciate it. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the questions. And until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you very soon. Peace out, everyone.